My uncle laughed so hard he nearly dropped his drink. He pointed at me in front of 30 relatives and said, "Nobody knows who she is." The room filled with laughter. 3 days later, the newest issue of Bloomberg arrived at my parents' house, and suddenly nobody in that room could look me in the eye. My name is Ava, and for most of my life, my family believed success only counted if they understood it. My older cousins became doctors, lawyers, real estate agents. One even hosted a local television show. Every holiday, their accomplishments dominated the conversation. Then someone would eventually ask me, "So, what exactly do you do again?" I'd answer honestly, "I build software for financial data." Blank stares. Oh. Then someone would immediately change the subject. To them, if my job couldn't be explained in 30 seconds, it probably wasn't important. At first, I tried. I showed them projects, explained technology, talked about artificial intelligence and financial markets. Nobody cared. Eventually, I stopped trying. The funny part was that I genuinely loved my work. I wasn't chasing fame. I wasn't trying to become a celebrity. I simply enjoyed solving difficult problems. After graduate school, I joined a tiny startup with only 11 employees. The salary wasn't impressive. Neither was our office. Sometimes we couldn't even afford decent coffee. But we believed our software could help detect financial fraud much faster than traditional systems. Everyone told us we were wasting our time. Maybe we were. For years, nothing happened. Friends bought houses. I rented a tiny apartment. Former classmates drove luxury cars. I drove a 10-year-old hatchback with one broken window switch. Family gatherings became exhausting. My aunt constantly compared me to my cousin Daniel, who worked in corporate law. Daniel argues billion-dollar cases. Then she'd smile politely. And Ava works on computers. Everyone laughed. I usually smiled too. It was easier than arguing. The worst gathering happened during my grandmother's 85th birthday. Nearly the entire family attended. After dinner, conversations turned toward careers. Daniel had recently appeared in a business magazine. My uncle proudly passed the article around. Then someone looked at me. "What about you?" I shrugged. "Work's going well." My uncle rolled his eyes. "Still hiding behind computer screens?" A few people chuckled. Then he delivered the sentence I'd never forget. "Nobody knows who she is." More laughter. Someone added, "She's probably inventing another app." Another cousin joked, "Maybe she'll become famous online." I quietly took a sip of water. I wanted to defend myself. Instead, I looked at Grandma. She wasn't laughing. She simply reached across the table and squeezed my hand. That tiny gesture kept me from crying. The next morning, she called me. "Does it hurt?" I smiled sadly. "A little." She sighed. Never confuse loud people with important people. Those words stayed with me. Months passed. Our company kept growing slowly. Then something incredible happened. A major international bank tested our fraud detection platform. Within weeks, it uncovered millions of dollars in suspicious transactions that existing systems had missed. News spread quickly through the financial world. Investors called. Banks called. Governments became interested. Suddenly the tiny startup nobody believed in wasn't so tiny anymore. Still, I didn't tell my family. Experience had taught me something. People who never cared about the journey rarely deserve front-row seats for the destination. Then came twist number 1. One Monday morning, my CEO called unexpectedly. "I've got strange news." "What happened?" "You've been nominated." "For what?" He laughed. "I can't tell you yet." Several weeks passed. Meetings. Interviews. Photo shoots. Strict confidentiality agreements. I honestly assumed it was for an industry publication. Nothing more. Then one Friday evening, my phone rang again. The CEO sounded emotional. Ava. Yeah? We won. What did we win? He laughed. You'll find out Tuesday. That was all he would say. Tuesday morning arrived. I was already in New York for meetings. When I walked into the lobby of our hotel, I stopped moving. There, displayed on a large newsstand, was the newest Bloomberg special issue. My face covered the front. Across the top, huge letters read, Person of the Year. My hand started shaking. I honestly thought someone was playing a prank. Then reporters started approaching me. Congratulations. Questions. Photographs. Everything blurred together. Apparently, Bloomberg had chosen me because our technology had helped expose massive international financial crimes while making banking systems safer for millions of ordinary people. None of it felt real. I immediately called Grandma. She answered after 2 rings. I saw it. Her voice trembled. I always knew. I cried harder than I had in years. Then came twist number 2. I hadn't even shared the news publicly before my phone exploded. Dozens of missed calls. Texts. Messages from relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years. Uncle. Aunts. Cousins. Everyone suddenly remembered I existed. My uncle's message read, So proud of our family's superstar. I stared at the screen. The same man who had mocked me weeks earlier now wanted credit for my success. I didn't respond. Instead, I flew home that weekend to visit Grandma. Not for a celebration. Just to see her. When I arrived, something unexpected happened. The entire family was already there. Apparently, they had organized a dinner in my honor. Banners. Flowers. Champagne. My uncle rushed over smiling. There she is. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder. I always knew you'd do something big. I gently stepped away. You did? His smile faded slightly. Of course. I looked around the room. Then quietly asked one question. Who said nobody knows who she is? Silence. Complete silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because everyone remembered. My uncle's face turned bright red. The room suddenly became very interested in their dinner plates. Then Grandma slowly stood up. At 85, she walked carefully toward the center of the room. She looked at every single person. Then she smiled at me. I know exactly who she is. The room became quiet. Grandma continued. She's the only one here who never measured her worth by applause. Nobody interrupted. While the rest of you competed for attention. She reached for my hand. She quietly changed lives. Several relatives started crying. Not because of fame. Because they finally understood how deeply they had underestimated someone they claimed to love. The climax came after dinner. My uncle approached privately. I owe you an apology. I nodded. You do. He looked embarrassed. I judged success by visibility. I smiled gently. A lot of people do. I'm sorry. For the first time, his apology sounded genuine. Not because I had become famous. Because he finally recognized the damage his words had caused. Over the following months, interviews continued. Awards followed. Our company expanded globally. Life became busier than ever. But the biggest change wasn't professional. It was personal. My younger cousins started calling. Not to ask for jobs. To ask for advice. One wanted to study engineering. Another became interested in cybersecurity. For the first time, someone in the family realized there were successful careers beyond the ones everyone already understood. Every Christmas now, Grandma keeps that Bloomberg issue on her coffee table. Visitors often ask why. She always gives the same answer. Because people should remember that greatness is often invisible, until the world finally notices. Looking back, I don't think the magazine changed my family. The truth did. The magazine simply forced them to face it. People often assume the happiest moment of my life was seeing my face on that cover. It wasn't. The happiest moment happened later that evening when Grandma hugged me and whispered, "They had to wait for a magazine to recognize you." She smiled through tears. I never did. And in that moment, I realized something. Recognition from the world can be exciting. Respect from the people who truly know you is priceless. My family once believed nobody knew who I was. The irony is, the only person who truly knew me had believed in me long before Bloomberg ever printed my name.